You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and there's a lot to get to today, surprisingly. We're still in the aftermath of the Super Bowl, but there are some NBA stories, some baseball stories, and a couple football stories. And that's the order that I'll go in. I'll start with basketball, then move over to baseball, and then football. And when it comes to the stories themselves, I'll go chronologically. The rumor for a long time has been that the deadline this year is going to be a very quiet one. There aren't going to be too many big trades, just trades around the edges. But with some of these names that are being bandied about, this is more than just an improvement around the edges. I'll start with Clint Capella, the machine that is Adrian Wojnarowski, does not take a break. He tweeted this out during the Super Bowl that the Rockets are shopping Capella. I really like Capella. I think he's one of the better centers in the NBA. In a league where you have a lot of small ball going on, it's kind of refreshing to see an old school center have such an impact on a team. And there is no doubting that Clint Capella is the third best member of the Houston Rockets. You've got Harden, Westbrook, and then Capella. I don't want to hear Eric Gordon. I don't want to hear PJ Tucker, Daniel House, Macklemore, whoever. It's Clint Capella. And at first, when I heard this, it made no sense to me. The Rockets are 5th in the West. They're going to make the playoffs. There's no chance in hell that they don't. Could they slip to the 7th seed? Yeah, theoretically. But they could also go up to the 2 seed, theoretically. So why would you trade your third best player? Well, I thought about it. The Rockets have Tyson Chandler and Isaiah Hartenstein. They both play a very similar game to Capella. They're both guys who, if you play them 30 minutes, will get you about 10 points, about 10 rebounds, and will play good defense. That's Capella. It makes sense to get cheaper there. You know, I understand that it's very difficult to sympathize with billionaire NBA owners, and that's what Tillman Fertitta is. He's a billionaire. His show on CNBC was called Billion Dollar Buyer, for goodness sake. I don't know if he still hosts it. I never watched it. But yeah, you really can't sympathize with a guy who doesn't want to pay the luxury tax. I understand that. But it's still a deterrent. There are a bunch of teams out there that have won an NBA title without having to pay the luxury tax. So if you're an NBA owner, why wouldn't you say to your GM, yeah, you can spend up to the luxury tax, but you can't go past it. There are a bunch of teams interested in Capella too. Celtics I saw the Nets, the Hawks, bunch of teams. I'd be really surprised if they did this by Thursday. I'd be really surprised if they upset the apple cart that much. Look, if you're a team that's just treading water and you want to try to make a big splash, I can understand that. But the Rockets are firmly in the playoffs. We know that they're capable of making a big run. I don't care what their seeding is. For my money, they're the third best team in the West, behind the Lakers and Clippers. Maybe not even in that order. I'd still put the Clippers over the Lakers. The Lakers are just so LeBron and AD centric. And the Clippers have so many ways that they can beat you. I like the Clippers more this year. I really do. I wouldn't hold my breath over a Capella trade. It would make sense if they moved on from him. But I think it's more likely that they do it at the draft than in the middle of the season when whatever trade they make, they're gonna get worse. This next NBA story is from Mark Stein, and he says that the Timberwolves have sought 2 first-rounders in exchange for Robert Covington. Covington's a good player. He's a very, very underrated player. He's a guy who gets you a dozen points a night, shoots pretty well, and plays really good defense. But 2 first-rounders? Look, I admire the optimism, I guess, but there comes a point when you have to be realistic, right? Look, if you really want to move on from Covington, and he's making a lot of money, it's not an unreasonable contract for him, but I mean, still, he's making a lot of money. If you want to try to cut payroll, I understand moving on from him. But 2 first-rounders? Please, be realistic. For goodness sake. If you're a team in need of a wing guy, you can give up a first-rounder for Covington. That's fine. That's worth it. I don't have a problem with that. 2 first-rounders, though? No. Not gonna happen. It'd be interesting if they could swing that type of a deal for Russell, though. Obviously not with any picks. If anything, the Timberwolves would have to give up picks. But it would be interesting to see if the Warriors would be amenable to a Robert Covington for D'Angelo Russell deal. Again, not straight up. Absolutely not straight up. But we all know that Russell is going to be traded. It's just a matter of when. The Warriors are not going to open up next season with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and D'Angelo Russell. Russell's the odd man out. No matter what 2K has you believing, Russell's not coming off the bench for him. And they're not going to go super small and play Thompson at the 3. I actually like the idea of a Curry, Thompson, Covington, Green, and either Pascal or Spellman, probably Pascal, starting lineup. You've got great defense and great shooting. That makes sense. The next NBA story that I want to talk about today is that the Suns and the Pistons are talking about a Luke Kennard trade. This is from Woj. And that a Suns first rounder is in play. I'll attack it from the Pistons end first. I understand what they're doing a little bit. They have a roster that really doesn't make a lot of sense. They made a big trade for Blake Griffin a while ago. It didn't work. I understand that Griffin has been hurt this year, but with Drummond a pending free agent, do you really want to take that chance to re-sign Drummond to a big deal and then pair him with Blake Griffin as your 1-2 punch? I don't think it works. Derrick Rose has been great this year, but can he be the second or third best player on a title-winning team? No. Absolutely not. He can be the sixth man for him. No problem. But he's got to have a really good starting lineup in front of him. And when you look at the Pistons starting lineup, it's not very good. There's no nice way to say it. It's not very good. Bruce Brown should not be starting. I understand he's a good defender, but he shouldn't be starting. Tony Snell isn't that good. Svi Mikhailuk's a microwave three-point shooter. Markieff Morris is basically the same thing. He can do more than that, but he's most effective as a three-point shooter. I like Seko Doumbia, but he shouldn't be in a very meaningful role this year. He needed time to develop, and the Pistons have not given him that. And Tim Frazier isn't anything special either. He plays decent defense, but that's pretty much it. I understand that Reggie Jackson has been hurt, but this Pistons roster makes no sense. It's a team that best case scenario is out in the first round, assuming everyone stayed healthy. Out in the first round. It makes sense that they would want to blow things up and try again. I don't know if trading Luke Kennard is the right way to go there, though. Kennard is a guy who you can build around. He's another really good microwave three-point shooter, and he's really young. He's only 23 years old. If you're the Pistons, you've got to get a really, really good package back. Otherwise, keep him. And try to build around Kennard and I have no idea who else. Doumbia? Yeah, it doesn't look good, Pistons fans. God only knows if Andre Drummond is going to stay. If he does, then, yeah. Build a better supporting cast around him. But if he doesn't, yeah, blow everything up. For the Suns, though, this actually makes perfect sense for him. The Phoenix Suns are one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the NBA. And they're a team with a very, very good young core of players like Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson has been their best three-point shooter this year, DeAndre Ayton, Elio Kobo I like, Ty Jerome I like. You wouldn't know it from how they played yesterday, but they actually have a pretty bright future. No pun intended. By the way, were you watching that game yesterday? Karis LeVert went off. Holy moly. I'll tell you what, if LeVert can get going like that, the Nets can, I don't want to say be a threat in the playoffs, but it bodes well for him to give a team like the Raptors or Bucks at least a run for their money. They'll make it competitive. They won't keel over and die. But going back to Kennard, if the Suns can get him without giving up any of their key pieces for the future, I don't mind it. I don't even mind trading a Kobo for him. You give Jerome some more minutes and Kennard is the backup too. I have no problem with that at all. The key is going to be that first rounder. If the Suns can negotiate some big protections on it, no problem with that. You don't want to give up an unprotected pick this year. I'd be hesitant even to give up an unprotected pick a couple of years from now. A million things can happen. Get some top 10 protections on there, some lottery protections on there, and you got something. But if the Pistons push for an unprotected first rounder this year, or Ty Jerome, I'd be really hesitant to do that. The last NBA story that I want to talk about is something that should have happened many, many moons ago. And that is that James Dolan has finally fired Steve Mills. Scott Perry will be taking over as GM on an interim basis. So he'll be the one in charge of trading Bullock, Ellington, and Gibson. Those are the only guys that the Knicks should trade. I like the idea of them keeping Marcus Morris. I like the idea of him being a part of the Knicks for the future. He's had a really good season. So I have no problem keeping him around. Julius Randle, too. There have been some rumors that he could be traded for Terry Rozier. Are you kidding me? That was the last straw for Dolan. And you know what? You have to give Dolan credit, okay? Look, I understand that that's sacrilegious for some Knicks fans, but you gotta give him credit for finally doing the right thing. Should it have happened sooner? Yes. But he finally realized that Steve Mills is inept. He finally realized that this guy is not a smart basketball man. He may be a great businessman, but when it comes to basketball, anyone who would even entertain the thought of trading Julius Randle for Terry Rozier is insane. I understand that the Knicks need a point guard, but for goodness sake, Terry Rozier, one of the most overpaid players in the NBA? And you're going to trade Randle for him? No. If you wanted to trade someone like Payton or Ntilikina or Smith, I can understand that and package him with an Ellington, a Gibson, a Bullock. Fine. Not Julius Randle. For goodness sake. That seemed to be the final straw for Dolan. Maybe that and the ridiculous rumor that they were interested in trading for Russell. Do you have any idea what you would need to give up for D'Angelo Russell? Barrett, Robinson, and picks. Multiple picks, and not the Mavs picks. Your picks. Steve Mills, I'm talking to you, buddy. That's what you would need to give up. The fact that you seriously entertained that, you've got to be joking. I'm a big fan of King of the Fourth Quarter on YouTube, and he did a video where he played my GM, and I think it was 2K19, it may have been 2K20, but he played my GM, and his goal was to get fired as soon as possible. That's what Steve Mills was doing here. The fact that he would seriously consider trading for D'Angelo Russell boggles the mind. I'm not gonna kill Steve Mills again. I did that last week in the podcast entitled New York Knicks Rant and Battles of Alberta. If I messed up the title a little bit there, I apologize, but that's the basic gist of it. You'll be able to find it very easily. All I can say is, this is a great day for Knicks fans. Here's hoping that Scott Perry does the right thing, just trades Bullock, Ellington, and Gibson, and that's it. I don't want to hear, though, that he's the guy who's going to lead the Knicks going forward. No, him and Mills are joined at the hip. Now we're getting rumors that the two of them didn't see eye to eye on some things. No. It's too late for that. If Scott Perry was concerned about his reputation, he would have resigned the second that the Knicks whiffed on everyone. You sealed your fate the minute that you sat next to Steve Mills in that impromptu press conference. You can be the one to lead the Knicks for now, but not in the draft and beyond. In fact, if I'm Dolan, I'm only giving him authority to trade Bullock, Ellington, and Gibson. That's it. You can't do anything else. And if you want to do anything else, like sign a free agent to a 10-day contract or something, you need to go through me. He does not have the authority to pull off blockbuster trades. The latest rumor is that the Knicks are interested in Masai Ujiri. I mean, that's been going around for a while, that the Knicks have coveted him. I don't think it's going to happen. There is an appeal. If you're Ujiri, okay. There is an appeal to going to the Knicks and turning that team around, just like you turned around the Nuggets and the Raptors. I get that. And his charity is very important to him, and this would give him a great opportunity to get some more awareness for it. In fact, he needs it because I don't even know what cause it supports. But if you're Ujiri, do you really want to work for Jim Dolan? You have a great gig in Toronto, a team that's the second best team in the East, and your owners leave you alone. Do you really want to leave that and work for Dolan? And one of the worst teams in basketball? Look, if the Knicks throw a big contract at Ujiri, I understand that, but realize something. Ujiri is still under contract with the Raptors. The Raptors would need to trade him to the Knicks. And they would demand a lot for him. You're talking at least a first-round pick. At least. If you're the Knicks, why wouldn't you conduct a wide-ranging search and not trade for Ujiri? Sean Marks was a no-name before he came to the Nets. The only people who knew about him were the San Antonio Spurs and NBA insiders. He was a guy who was regarded as a smart guy, but the average NBA fan didn't know him. It makes more sense for the Knicks to conduct a wide-ranging search and target some assistant GM somewhere and go with him. If you want to go with a guy like Chauncey Billups, you know, you can go that route. I'd be skeptical of it, just because he has no front office experience at all, and you're immediately putting him in charge of the Knicks. That's a big ask. I'd be hesitant to do that for any team. Knicks, Pistons, Bulls, Nets, Lakers, Rockets, Warriors, whoever. If the Knicks can get Ujiri, it's a fantastic move. It's the right move by Dolan to target him. Alright, I've heard some people say that it's the wrong move. No, it's the right move. This guy is one of the smartest minds in all of basketball. You'd be a fool not to go after him. But, if I was Dolan, I would rather hire an assistant GM somewhere and not have to give up compensation than give up compensation for Ujiri. Alright, I think that's the end of basketball for today. On to baseball. And this is a story that's been going on for the whole offseason. It seems to be reaching its apex, and that is the Mookie Betts saga. Alex Spire of the Boston Globe has said that the Red Sox will make a decision on Betts within the next few days. And he said before that it's a two-team race between the Dodgers and the Padres for him. I'll attack it for all teams involved. For the Red Sox, it makes no sense. I don't give a damn that they're trying to get under the luxury tax. This guy's a former MVP. This guy's one of the best players in all of baseball. This guy was the best player on a World Series winning team. And now you're going to give him away? I don't care what prospects you get back. It's not going to be enough. Here's a crazy idea. Just get rid of Bradley. They should have never tendered him a contract in the first place. And trade David Price. That's it. That's all they had to do. Now you're trading one of the 5 or 10 best players in baseball? I don't care who they get back. Alex Verdugo, Cal Quantrill, Joey Lucchesi, Gavin Lux. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is Mookie Betts we're talking about. If Bryce Harper and Giancarlo Stanton can get over $300 million, Mookie Betts can easily get $350. Look, I understand that the Red Sox are trying to cut payroll. They had a really bad season last year, a really disappointing one. They were caught up in the sign stealing with Alex Cora, and they're trying to reload. I understand that, but Mookie Betts can be a part of it. This guy was the MVP in his age 25 season. And in his age 23 season, he was the runner-up for MVP. Whatever players you get need to be just as dominant as Betts was at those young ages. It doesn't matter which team the Red Sox trade Betts to. There is no team in baseball that has the prospect depth that would be worth giving up Betts for. Oh, and this is my favorite part about the Betts trade. There are fans of the Dodgers, not so much the Padres, but Dodgers fans that don't want to part with their young guns for this guy. Are you joking? You haven't won a World Series in over 30 years, and you're concerned with young guns? You've been in the playoffs every year since 2013, and you haven't won a World Series. How can you be concerned with young guns? This is a trend that I've noticed among younger sports fans. They don't want to part with the prospects necessary to get superstars, but they want superstars. Makes no sense. It's very rare that a Bryce Harper or a Manny Machado hits free agency, or a Garrett Cole or an Anthony Rendon or a Steven Strasburg. Usually, if you're going to get a superstar, you need to trade for him. Like Alex Rodriguez from the Rangers to the Yankees, or Giancarlo Stanton, Marlins to the Yankees. And the fact that there is a sizable contingent of Dodgers fans that don't want their team to give up guys like Verdugo and Lux boggles my mind. Look, I understand that Alex Verdugo had a really good season for you last year, and I think he's going to be a great player in this league for a long time. I think the same thing about Gavin Lux, Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, whoever. The Dodgers have a very strong farm system. But with that comes the luxury of being able to make this type of a trade. How often does a player like Betts become available? And you're going to say no to him? Prospects are pieces of paper. It doesn't matter how much we think these guys are going to be superstars. The key word is think. Now you got to be smart about it. You don't trade Jeff Bagwell for Larry Anderson or Sammy Sosa for Delino DeShields. This is Mookie Betts we're talking about. This guy's an MVP. He's a World Series winner. One of the 5 or 10 best players in baseball. I can't believe that there are Dodgers fans that don't want to do this trade. The Padres I understand a little bit more. A.J. Preller has been extremely aggressive ever since he's been there. I like Preller. I like what he's done with the team. It just hasn't translated to success yet. I think it will soon. You've got Machado, you've got Tatis, you've got Joey Lucchesi, Cal Quantrill, Dinelson Lamet, Eric Hosmer, Eric Lauer, Chris Paddock. You've got some pieces there. But you've tried the quick fix before, and it hasn't worked. What makes you think Betts is going to be any different? If you add Mookie Betts to the Padres, yes, you're a playoff team, but you're not making it out of the NLDS. The only way that a Betts trade makes sense for the Padres is if they can avoid giving up major leaguers. If you want to give up C.J. Abrams, I have no problem with that. Luis Campusano, I have no problem with that. Even if you wanted to give up a guy like Taylor Trammell, I could be talked into that. I like Trammell a lot, but the Padres would have a full outfield with Betts, Renfroe, and Naylor. So, if you can do it for Abrams, Trammell, and Campusano, no problem with that. But I'd be hesitant to give up guys like Gore, Patino, or Morajón. Andres Munoz, absolutely not. Michael Baez, absolutely not. I'd be hesitant to give up major league ready pieces. Because the Padres are doing this trade to make a playoff push. It doesn't matter that you trade for Betts. Injuries can happen anywhere on the diamond. You've got to have the pieces capable of stepping up and filling in that role. If you trade too much of your pitching depth, that hurts you. That's the obvious statement of the year right there, but it's true. You want to be hesitant to give up major league ready pitchers. All in all, if I had to bet on it, I'd say that Betts is going to be a Dodger come opening day, and we're looking at a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. Alright, now on to some stuff that isn't speculated to happen, but actually happened, and I'll start with Marco Gonzalez getting a $30 million extension. I like Gonzalez a lot. I think he's one of the better pitchers in baseball. And to have gotten 16 wins for the Mariners last year, that means something. I like Gonzalez a lot. He's a lefty. Those guys are absolutely invaluable. Understatement of the year. But still, great move for the Mariners. I kind of thought that we'd be hearing more trade rumors about him. We never heard him, and this is why. They were working on an extension for him. And this is one that he deserves immensely. Moving on now to the Astros hiring James Click as their new GM. This guy is supposedly a very smart guy. He seems to be in tune with the sabermetric push that is permeating baseball like a plague. I kind of thought that the Astros would go a little more old school. Given that they went old school with Baker, I thought they were trying something new. But Click, by all accounts, seems to be a smart guy. The fact that he's a sabermetric guru means nothing to me. I don't want to say he's going to fail. He has a very easy job as Astros GM. This year is really gravy for the Astros. You can't expect them to do anything with this cloud hovering over them. The year after, though, watch out, because that's when Click will be able to bring in his own guy Dusty Baker will probably be gone, because I think he was brought in on a 1-year deal. So it makes sense from that end. I have no idea how he's going to do as GM. We'll just have to wait and see. I'd be lying to you if I said I was optimistic about the hire. I don't buy into sabermetrics at all, so the fact that he's a star in that community means nothing to me. So, ultimately, I hate to say this, we'll just have to wait and see. Moving over to football now, there are a couple stories there that I want to talk about. The first one is the Falcons choosing to move on from Vic Beasley. This guy burst onto the scene in his rookie year, and in his sophomore year, he avoided the sophomore slump. But then after that, the league seemed to figure him out. He has not been good the past few seasons. He's another guy who hasn't recovered from 28-3. He's still young, and he hasn't been terrible. I'm kind of surprised that the Falcons are moving on from someone so young, but I can't say I hate it. Ultimately, it just depends on who they get to replace him. If they replace him with a veteran who isn't that good, it makes no sense. But if they can replace him with a dynamic rookie or a star free agent, I have no problem with the move at all. The last story that I want to talk about today is the death of Willie Wood, who passed away yesterday at the age of 83. He had been sick for a while. I know that he had dementia, and he had been suffering for a while, so the best way to really look at this is he's been in pain, and now he's not going to be in pain anymore. And there's no one who deserves to be at peace more than Willie Wood. This guy is tremendously underrated. Was without question the best safety of the 1960s. He made 8 Pro Bowls, was a 9-time member of an All-Pro team. 5 as the first team, 4 as the second team. He won 7 championships. 5 NFL championships before they had the Super Bowl, and he was obviously part of the first 2 Super Bowl winning teams. He went to college at USC, and he played quarterback there. But he wasn't really great. He went undrafted in 1960, and he would not be deterred from his dream of being an NFL player. He wrote a letter to Vince Lombardi requesting a tryout. Lombardi was impressed and brought him in. Needless to say, he wasn't that good as a quarterback because they switched him to free safety just a few days into training camp. And like I said before, he dominated. In just his second full year starting in the NFL, he led the league in interceptions with 9. He was also a really good punt returner. He actually held the record for longest punt return in a Super Bowl for a while until Darryl Green broke it in Super Bowl 18. Actually, it's funny, that year that he led the NFL in interceptions, 1962, he also led the NFL in punt return yards. He holds the record for most consecutive starts by a safety in NFL history, was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1989, very, very deservedly so, and will be deeply, deeply missed. tomorrow, hopefully there will be some NBA trades to break down. Maybe Mookie Betts will get traded, I don't know. I hope he does, because I want him out of the AL East. Until next time, I am Jacob Valk saying that being a baseball player is simple. All you have to do is sit on your ass, eat sunflower seeds, and nod at the stupid things that your manager says.